Hi, Mr. Lee. Thanks for coming today. Can you analyze your lesson according to the observation I did yesterday?
Sure. Well, let me just start by saying that this lesson is probably one of my favorite lessons out of the whole year. This was an Italian 1 lesson. It's the first year of Italian, and what the lesson was about was basically just on ARE verbs, which are the most common verbs in the Italian language. And what they started off with was a do now, okay, and that's usually something like 5 minutes long, just 3 questions on the previous day's lesson. And we were starting a brand new topic that day, so that do now was not on ARE verbs. Okay. So once they got that done, then I started to introduce the verbs. Okay, and I began by first pronouncing the verbs for them. All they had to do was listen, and after that, I said, all right, guys, let's practice repeating them. And now it was their turn to start saying the verbs, and then after that, I showed them an example on the board on how to conjugate each verb. And the good thing about chat is that each verb gets conjugated exactly the same way. So there's no tricks. So yeah.
All right. So that's what you do for each group of verbs.
That's what I do for ARE verbs. That's what I do for any type of verb. ERE verbs, IRE verbs, irregular verbs. They all get conjugated, and there's usually a pattern with them. Even for the irregular, on a few of them, for most of them, there's a pattern.
Okay, so after introduce this class, yesterday's class, the ARE verbs, what's your next step to take?
Okay, after the ARE verbs, the next step is basically the rest of the year, because these verbs won't go away. They'll be using these verbs all for the rest of Italian 1 and going into their future Italian courses.
Okay. Mr. A, could you please analyze and interpret the importance of your lesson? So as you said, that they're going to use all the time these verbs, and what is good for ARE verbs, basically?
Okay. Well, the importance of this lesson is basically to be able to speak Italian, because without these verbs, which I said towards the very beginning, the ARE verbs are the most common in the Italian language. So without knowing these verbs, they would not be able to speak Italian. They wouldn't be able to speak in complete sentences, write incomplete sentences without knowing any verbs.
So it will help them to start with the simple sentences and grow from there.
It's a good base. It's good fundamentals for them. Absolutely.
Okay, Mr. A, could you please tell me what was your vision of teaching and learning while you were preparing the lesson you taught yesterday?
Okay.
What is your base vision?
My vision. Well, like I said before, these verbs are very important. So, as far as I separated it into 2 categories. The first one is short-term goal. Their short-term goal is honestly to learn learn these verbs, learn this topic, and pass the exam. Their long-term goal is to use the material learned in the classroom in the outside world. So to use these verbs with maybe family members, maybe they're traveling abroad. Could be it could even not be. It could also be when when they're in college and they're looking for a job. They can jot it down on their resume. Speaking 2-3 languages always looks great on a resume. So Yeah, that's short-term and long-term goals for them. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think that a clear objective needed to post before to start the class? For example, you have to really explain what you're trying to do as an objective to the students before you even start the lesson.
That lesson, I think I had a short introduction to them. I told them, all right, guys, what we want to do today, our objective, our goal today is AR verbs. That's our new topic. That's what we're going to be starting. That's what you guys are going to be learning for the next couple of weeks. Yeah, can you repeat the question one more time, please?
Yeah. Do you think you feel like it, or you should that give clear objective to students before you explain what you're trying to do?
Sure. For most lessons, I give a much longer, much broader objective. Okay. I like, for example, if they were reading, I would say, all right, guys, this is what we want to learn today. These are some vocab words that we're going to need to learn. But for ARV verbs, it was kind of a short introduction. I was just saying, all right, guys, this is what we're going to learn, and I just went straight to the lesson. I showed them a few examples, and
because you felt that it's a basic, so
because I felt that ARV verbs needed little introduction.
Okay.
They spoke for themselves.
It's like the foundation of
the importance of ARV verbs speaks for themselves. Without them, you really can't go on to the other verbs because these are the most basic, these are the most common. They make up the majority of the entire language.
Okay. All right. So they are very useful.
They're extremely useful.
Okay.
Sure.
And one other question: what will you the way to develop a plan for your instructional improvement? So how do you feel that your instruction will improve by doing certain stuff? What's your goal in the future, and what's your target to improve your instruction?
One of them would probably be to incorporate more technology in it. Not just in that particular lesson, but in all my other lessons. I would like to start using the internet more, the smart board. So yeah, technology in general, that's what I really would like to start using much more of. And for that particular lesson, I would have, there's one thing that I would have changed, and that would be to have the students speak more, because I found myself speaking a bit too long. So I just, if I could have changed something, that would have been it. I wanted them to speak a bit more. But that was the first lesson of these verbs. So I had to take my time with explaining it to them and introducing it to them. That it takes time to do these type of things.
Right. So you want to incorporate their thoughts.
Right. I want them to speak.
And
if you would have if you would have came back today or any other day, you would definitely hear them speaking more Italian, more ARV verbs, because now they're more familiar with them. Now they have a day. They had a day to study them, a day of homework, a day of getting familiar with them. So it's not such a new topic to them anymore. So now they at least they have a base to work with, to build
their knowledge.
Right.
Okay, that's really good. So your goal, incorporating technology.
Right, incorporate technology in the future.
You also get their contribution more to the classroom.
Right.
And that's why they will engage more.
Right.
To the learning.
Exactly. Yeah. Both of those would probably be my top two improvements for the future. Yeah. Incorporating technology and incorporating their language speaking skills much more.
Okay.
So,
So obviously you have your smart boards in your room.
right.
So
right.
basically you're gonna use the smart board more than
Right.
using at the moment.
Smartboard, internet, even if it's playing games, playing games through the smartboard, through the computer, Hangman or any. I mean, any.
You told me also you do cultural, like weekends on Fridays, for example,
Right.
cultural stuff.
Right. Starting this marking period, actually, usually every Friday, unless there's an exam or something that we can't, we have a cultural lesson, so we can incorporate culture in it. Because I feel you can't learn a language fully if you're not if you don't know about their culture first.
Okay.
So.
Thanks for coming, Mr.
Thank you.
Akari.